Sunday evening the 22nd, just after 7 o'clock. So I have the cattle in on this field. It's the highest field on this farm. I normally put them in on a square. There's a hedge along here, and normally I have my line running along this way, but this evening I decided that I would put it at a 45-degree angle. So it's running here. You can see it comes to an angle here. It's running straight up to that corner there. Well, it does a little bit of a kick, but it's meant to be straight. But yeah, so just because my cattle, or cattle in general, tend to graze along the lines and they can walk along the bounds like this, and they put little roads on them. So to save that and to just change things up, I've decided to put it at a 45-degree angle, and the next move then will be straight here, which will give it another triangle. And we can go like that on the next one. So normally I go square, 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 or rectangle, but it's triangles this time, just to, as I say, to change things up. So yeah, I'm going to stop the video here now. I made a little video about 2 days ago of what the land looks like after I move the cattle away and leave the ponies in. So just a little record of how different the grazing is with ponies. Just how different the grazing is with ponies and the benefits of this new system that we're at. So I'm going to stop it here now. So I've just left the ponies in. Cattle just moved out. There's an old dung from the last rotation. Let's check it out what it looks like tomorrow. So I was meant to come back to this yesterday, but technically it's 48 hours. The ponies are now on up past that hedge, up along here. The cattle are over in the corner here, and the ponies are directly behind them. So 48 hours ago I left them into this, and they have ate off that green ring around that old dung perfectly, and they've not, because they've only been here for 24 hours, they have not overgrazed it down either. So we have plenty green left in this little area to photosynthesize and to grow on another bit heading on into winter time. So they have pulled the over fertility, I would say, out of here and moved it over to here. So now that we have two different species of animals running through this farm, one after the other, we're now spreading out our fertility that little bit extra. I am starting to see also, if we have parasites in that cow dung that don't affect the ponies, they have ate it off. It mustn't affect the ponies, because the ponies would not go near any kind of manure like that if it was going to make them kind of pick up some kind of a load. So basically they are cleaning off parasites that the cattle may have. So I'm now hoping that they will clean off land that little bit better and reduce parasite loads even further. And we have a lovely spread of horse manure in among the cow dung now also. Right, I'm going to go up now. I've fenced the tidy up here and I'll be back. So now you see what it looked like. So we had a green ring of manure. We had old manure from the cows, and we had a green ring around it that the cows tend to avoid, because it's a natural instinct the cattle have not to pick up parasites. So if they have parasite larvae in their dung, it comes out in their dung and it hatches and it moves onto the grass around it. So they tend to steer clear of any dung like that. That's why it's great to keep them moving onto clean, fresh grass that hasn't been touched, walked on, urinated, dunged on in the over 60 days, 90 days in some cases. But basically you saw then what the ponies did. The ponies came along, and the only bit of grazing they mostly did in that field was to graze off that green ring around that dung and to move their fertility on over. So I'm very happy with an extra addition to try and keep our parasites down. So what affects the cows will not affect the pony. The ponies are very smart. If they're left in the field grazing, they will probably dung all here. They will graze this down to the floor and continue to walk back and use an area as their toilet. They're very tidy that way. Whereas cattle tend to be more spread out, but they just avoid going up too tight to their dung. But if they're not moved, and if they get hungry, and as the phrase tightened, as they say, happens, then they will... Watch in. Don't be following me around too tight, lad. if they're left really hungry, they will graze tighter and tighter to them dung piles, and that's when we get what they call cow sick or horse sick. The land becomes overloaded with parasites, and they have no way of avoiding it, and then they'll need to be dosed, and you get into all kinds of problems then. So I don't dose these cattle on a regular basis. I basically dose as any animal looks like they may need a bit of help. And if I can see that their dung is running a little bit runny, or if they're not thriving as well, like this blue lady was, he or she, let me just zoom into her, she was under pressure after the winter time, so we did give her a dose. She's after losing that calf. I know, that was another problem. And what am I after doing here? Hang on. Yeah, so we dosed her for worms and fluke. So basically, the fluke tends to be in muddy, kind of wet, damp areas. Last year was a really bad wet year, and the wettest part, I said this is the driest part, the wettest part of the land was down in the very bottom there. I left the ponies in on it for 3 months over the winter time, and they grazed it down to the clay. So I'm hoping now that I have reduced any kind of parasites that bit further. Yeah, so it's all going to take time, but it's definitely a help. So let me just walk on through here. So I hope I explained that clearly enough. Let me walk on through. So as I say, they're up on this, just being left in. There's some lovely green grass here now. They'll be on this for 24 hours, and I'll move them on down the way. So we're almost coming to the end of our summer growth rotation. What we come into after this is actually the field where I did have those ponies eat off everything over the winter time. They're going to go in on there, a few fields around it, and move on up the road. Them places are full of grass, and then I'm on to autumn growth, and then we'll be into tightening conditions. We'll be feeding silage, and then we'll be, hopefully after the Christmas, then we'll see what kind of conditions we have. We'll be out, we'll be grazing, and we'll be feeding. But the year has definitely been a help. Definitely a better year than 2023. So on that note, anyhow, I'm starting to go on a bit now. I will leave it at that, and we'll talk again very soon. So I am hoping and I'm hopeful that we are going to get further away from parasitic ground. We're going to have clean grass for these cattle to graze as they keep moving. We have a little plan in place. I'm going to stick to it, and we'll see how we get on. So on that note, it's starting to get dark here. It's 7:30 Sunday evening on the 22nd. I'll say good luck and goodbye.